let's quickly recap on this tutorial. Now I hope you remember these 5 means of creating an illusion of depth, because I would like to go through one by one and how these were applied to a painting. But before that, let's go through what we did in our tutorial. Okay, so we started off with a series of thumbnails. We then added some values to them, and we were focusing on the foreground, the midground, and the background, and that's why we're seeing 3 values. We did more exploration. These are basically comp studies, and we were saying here that the light is coming in from the left, and in fact this image is the one we picked to work on. Here we've increased the foreground element in size, and we've also lightened the midground, because what we were saying here is that these midground elements were further away from us. Color, very rough. Flip the image to check our composition if the composition is right from this side, but towards the end we started to add some details as well, and I was focusing on the terminator, which is the line separating the light and dark. If you want to add details, that's where you want to focus. And here I've added more color variations to the dark side, okay, to the dark area, all these areas here. We flipped the canvas back to its original position, and what we did here is we've started to refine some of these shapes in the dark area, okay? But what we also did is we've darkened the light side of these rocks, because it was looking too contrasty. There was too much contrast between light and dark, so that's why I've added the dark tone to these light side, and it's on these rocks as well. We did some work on the foreground rock, and then we paid some time to do the sky, and I've also added just a slight flare of light. Here we showed some love to this ground. And then at the end, we actually did quite a lot of adjustments at the end. But one of the biggest concerns I had was that this ground was a little too flat for my liking. So I've added more angles to them. Okay. We did some more color adjustments, and we've also added this bigger flare of light. Now the ground was looking quite flat originally, and so I broke it up by adding these little flower thing and the rocks as well. And that was actually it. Now let's go through these 5 and how these were used. The first one is diminution. Okay, it's basically as the object is further away from us, it should appear smaller, and you should be able to see it here. Okay, the foreground rock is bigger than the background rock, and the midground rock is bigger than the background rock, with exception to this. What we are saying here is that physically, okay, geometrically, this rock is big. It's bigger than this rock here. So that's why it's, even though this rock here is further away from this, it's still bigger. Next one is foreshortening. Okay, we are seeing 2 planes here. That's the front plane, and we're seeing the side plane. Okay, if you draw a box, as soon as you see 2 planes or more, it's foreshortened. An object that's not foreshortened is basically your profile views. Okay, that's not foreshortened. Convergence, now it's a little less obvious in this picture, but there's hints of it. So that's where the lines are converging to a point eventually. If you draw a box, you want all these lines to converge to a point. Now it is more forgiving with the organic shapes. It's more obvious in the human-made products and like architectures. Overlapping is a really powerful tool to creating illusion of depth. So the foreground element, the foreground rock, is overlapping the background rock. And so we know that this rock in the foreground is in front of the background rock. And the overlapping occurs everywhere. It's everywhere in the image. Okay, all these, and this rock here is overlapping both of these rocks. And very lastly, the aerial perspective. Now I know I said to use hue and saturation in the tutorial, but the better one is the black and white. Okay, so if you turn on the black and white, now you're seeing your values, the tones. And to check your aerial perspective, your foreground element should be the darkest. Okay, and the midground should be the mid, obviously, and your background should be the lightest in value. Okay, so keep checking those. And that's actually it. Again, use these as a checklist while you paint, and have fun applying these tools to your process, but remember that your voice is the most important thing in the process. Okay, so that's the end of the session. Again, thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope it was fun and useful to you, and honestly, good luck, and I hope to see you in another tutorial. Thank you and enjoy.